What kind of shape is that plant the professor gave us in?
First time I laid eyes on it, I thought it was some kind of joke. It was a giant birdhouse, seagulls everywhere. We eventually scraped off most of the rust and bird crap. The underlying structure's intact. Little elbow grease? Man, we should be in business.
Who used to own it anyway? Whatever shape it's in now, somebody sank some serious money into building it.
From what I can tell, an American university built it as a research platform for ocean thermal energy conversion. The name's still on some of the rusty old power turbines. I'm guessing they must have had government and corporate assistance to build it too. But they couldn't solve the thermal efficiency problem, and the project was canceled. Then after the university abandoned it, a KGB front company scooped it up for next to nothing. At least that's my theory.
How'd the KGB manage to buy a plant built with American capital, front company or not?
Yeah, that professor is quite the operator. One other thing. The plant's set up so that it can join up with other plants of the same standard.
So, they were originally planning on expanding the place, huh?
Hey, let's give it a shot. We can get some more people together and build this place up into a proper home for MSF. You're with me on this, right, boss? The new plant is a hex type. That gives it more surface area than previous types, and also makes it easier to plan expansions. We're gonna make this place huge.
Hex, huh? Like a beehive.
Nothing wrong with that. They say the honeycomb design is one of the strongest. I hear they're even thinking of using it in tank armor.
Good enough for me. I'll see about finding us some worker bees.
Appreciate it, boss.
By the way, Kaz, who do you think's our queen bee?
Good question. I was thinking maybe Poss.
I was thinking Strangelove.
I can see that. Or maybe Cecile.
On second thought, I might go with Amanda.
How about this, Snake? We'll have an army of queen bees.
Sure. Why not?
Snake, you can use the Fulton surface-to-air recovery system to send prisoners and unconscious mercenaries you encounter back to Mother Base. I know you've used the Fulton before, but just to make sure I'm not missing anything, let's review the steps.
Okay.
First, attach a balloon to the unconscious enemy or captured prisoner.
Right. I hook a wire to their waist, and on the other end of the wire, there's a helium balloon.
Right. Then we'll send over a chopper to catch the floating balloon with its recovery hook and reel it up into its cargo hold.
And that's it?
And that's it. We finished installing the recovery hook on the Huey.
Wait, Kaz. Something doesn't make sense about this whole process.
This again.
Well, normally, Fulton recovery is for when you're using fixed-wing aircraft. With a helicopter, isn't it simpler to land and pick up directly?
Listen, Snake. You're going to be calling for recoveries repeatedly throughout your mission. We want to keep the risk of taking enemy fire to a minimum. The best way to get that done is to do the recovery in a high-speed flyby. That's what the Fulton surface-to-air recovery system is for.
Uh-huh. What's the real reason?
Helicopters are cheaper, and the repair bills will start adding up once the bullets start flying.
I thought so. Kaz, I know we need to keep costs down, but...
Boss, you really need to get rid of this whole army mentality. We're not the Pentagon. We don't have billions of taxpayer dollars to play with. And besides...
Fine. Just pick a reason that makes sense.
Helicopters have quicker response time. Sounds strange, yeah, but it works great. I promise. You'll get used to it before long.
Yeah, I hope so.
Remember why we created MSF, Snake. To provide military force to whoever needs it, wherever they are, regardless of nation or ideology. Our beliefs aren't all that lofty.
We just won't be the tools of any one country.
Exactly. We know only how to fight. But we refuse to live our lives at the whim of the state. The MSF seal is patterned after Pangaea, the supercontinent from 250 million years ago. Back then, the whole world was one landmass, one world. No gaps, no rifts.
Our strength will take us back there. What about you, Kaz? Any interest in expanding MSF?
You'd better believe it. I want to make us into an organization that doesn't take orders from any country. Just like you were saying, we have to be strong. Strong enough to defend ourselves. We need money, too. money to train soldiers to fight. The way I see it, we make MSF into something along the lines of a new kind of business. A contractor providing the full range of military services, not just combat, but logistics, training, weapons, outfitting, and R&D. Combining the small footprint and exceptional performance of special forces with the raw military might of a full regular army. Only with that kind of power can we break free of nation-states. What I need from you, boss, is to go out and find guys we can bring back here using Fulton Recovery. Then tell us what assignment to use them for. I'll take care of the rest. Your old mentor, the boss. She was known in the West as the mother of special forces, right?
Nothing but propaganda.
Actually, it's not all that far from the truth. I heard the KGB just set up a counter-sabotage cell. Alpha Group, I think they call it. There's even a rumor that West Germany created a counter-terrorist unit within its border police after the debacle at the Munich Olympics. Back home in the States, they've got the illustrious Green Berets, the SEALs, and your personal creation, Foxhound. The seeds sown by the boss are beginning to sprout. Same goes for MSF, right? In creating it, you were carrying on the will of the boss.
Yeah. She taught me how to fight the hard way. She beat it into me.
And now, thanks to her, we can take on missions other than just conventional combat. After all, we've got the same mother as the Army's Special Forces. You know, Snake, you're right. As long as we're soldiers without borders, we're going to be a target. We need our own deterrent.
Yeah, we're going to be stepping into a lot of different conflicts as we roam the world, each one unique, and with its own set of geography, ideologies, and politics. If we're going to intervene in those kinds of situations, we need the threat of a Metal Gear.
Unless we want to end up like Che Guevara did in Bolivia.
Well said. Our army without borders doesn't have a land to call home. We're nomads, wanderers. What we need now is a sheepdog to guard our flock.
Right.
Maybe it's not the way the boss would have gone about it, but there are places in this world that need us, and soldiers that need MSF. And as long as we're needed, we'll keep on moving. Ours is a journey that never ends. We're the real peace walkers.
Still can't believe Professor Galvez was KGB.
Well, like the professor said, Moscow's hell-bent on communizing Latin America.
Yeah, the Cuban intel services are all in the KGB's pocket. You don't think he's got some kind of ulterior motive?
If the CIA is up to something, it's only natural that the KGB wants to know about it. But I doubt they're showing us their full hand.
We'd better watch our backs.
What do you think, Kaz? Why did Paz come all the way to Colombia herself?
It's a long trip to make just to be Exhibit A in Galvez's sales pitch. She's only 16. Still a kid. Maybe we should take her wish for peace at face value. Remember that habit Paz had, Snake? How she always had her index finger on her upper lip like this?
Yeah. It bugged me ever since we first met her. Never figured her for a snuff user.
I can't believe we never noticed.
She used the kind where you keep a pouch of leaf in your upper jaw, let it absorb through your gums. She might not have been used to it. Probably used her finger to keep it in place.
How could Paz... We were gonna start a band together.
She was posing as a KGB agent, too.
She must have put on the act to get close to Galvez. Wonder how much Coleman knew. But the whole time she was working for some organization called Cypher.
Cypher. Ring any bells, Kaz?
Cypher. It means code, or zero in Arabic numerals.
Zero.
Does that mean something to you?
Not sure.
You know, cypher and zero were basically the same word. It's a linguistic redundancy. The word stems from the Sanskrit shunya. It corresponds to the Buddhist concept of emptiness. In Buddhism, shunya means hollow. It supposedly refers to something that's swollen and empty on the inside.
A big swollen emptiness. Just like outer space.
Costa Rica isn't alone. All of Latin America is getting swept up in the superpowers' Cold War. The whole ideological split between East and West. In the end, it's just a greedy scramble for wealth by the ruling classes. The Western bourgeois stand to lose everything if their countries go communist. After all, the communists want to abolish private property altogether. So the capitalist rulers desperately tried to halt the global spread of communism. Hence the phenomenon of red baiting. And the communists, for their part, didn't exactly stay true to their principles. They tried to escape class-based society, but between Stalin's autocracy and the rise of the nomenklatura, they ended up creating one anyway. Once people have power, they stop caring about equality. That's where communism, where society in general, reaches its limits. The rulers only care about their own gain. The opposing side becomes a risk factor that threatens the profit, and thus the ongoing struggle between capitalism and communism was born.
And now, nuclear deterrence is part of the picture.
Exactly. They say nuclear weapons are the reason we haven't seen conflict on a global scale since World War II. The thought that your opponent might launch nukes against you sort of makes it tough to start an armed conflict, especially now that they've got intercontinental ballistic missiles. Nowhere is safe.
Of course, all that has caused military expenditures to skyrocket.
Well, the only way to ward off a preemptive strike is to flaunt your own nuclear stockpile, and that's caused their numbers to increase exponentially, not just with regards to destructive power, but in terms of targeting technology too. Now they can hit a target halfway across the world with pinpoint accuracy. In a way, the space race was a demonstration of that technological progress.
And as a result of all that, we now have mutually assured destruction.
It's the ultimate form of deterrence. No one's going to launch their nukes knowing they'll be obliterated in return.
I don't know. The chance of somebody hitting the button by mistake is never zero.
You're right. Even with peace guaranteed by MAD, there's always the risk of an accident.
Nobody wants the world to end on account of some machines malfunctioning.
On the other hand, thanks to deterrence, we haven't had a world war since 1945. You gotta admit, it has been pretty peaceful.
Not that it matters to us.
People point at the nuclear arms and space races and call it a Cold War. I say if they're not shooting at each other, why not call it world peace?
Doesn't mean war is gone. Look at Korea. Look at Vietnam.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking in relative terms here. Besides, if war died out completely, we'd be SOL.
We're not warmongers.
And yet, we can't survive in a world that's at peace.
You got a point.
So it's been more than 10 years since the Cuban Missile Crisis, huh?
I don't think we'll ever forget it.
No kidding. Those 13 days starting October 15th, 1962, were probably the closest we ever came to all-out nuclear war. The Russians deployed nuclear missiles to Cuba. America responded with a naval blockade. Then Russia shot down an American spy plane. I was still a teenager back then, but I remember what it felt like to be one step away from nuclear war. The adults were freaking out.
If it wasn't for the Cuban Missile Crisis, there might never have been an Operation Snake Eater. And
What's the matter, Snake? It's not like you to get all hypothetical.
I guess not. It was the reassessment after the missile crisis that paved the way for the hotline between Moscow and Washington, and also for détente. That's irony for you.
The Treaty of Tlatelolco was enacted to make Latin America into a nuclear-free zone. It bans the testing, use, manufacture, production, acquisition, storage, and deployment of nuclear weapons. The impetus was pretty obvious. The series of crises triggered by the deployment of nukes in Cuba.
Not hard to imagine. Those 13 days had the whole world frozen in fear.
Of course, the country that started it all, Cuba, hasn't actually ratified it yet.
Still, the treaty's backed by over 20 countries. Anyone flouting at risk becoming an international pariah.
True. Opinol would investigate, no doubt. I heard they used Japan's 3 non-nuclear principles as their model when they drew up the treaty. I think the Treaty of Tlatelolco might have been their way